Warning! The following video contains spoilers for the Ace Attorney series. If you have not played this excellent game series, then please stop watching the video right now. But please feel free to subscribe to my channel so once you have played the games, you can watch this video and enjoy it. Thank you!
As you can see, there is no room for debate.
Objection! Why, it's you!
Ah, Phoenix Wright. After 5 long years, it's good to see you back in the courtroom, and with a spiffy new suit to boot. The Ace Attorney series are an excellent collection of games, and frankly, over the years, the popularity of the games has declined, thanks to a certain company's stupid decisions, but with dual Destinies finally hitting the Nintendo eShop, once again being a bad decision with no actual physical copy, it's a good sign for the series. Over the last 12 years, I've played the games again and again whenever I need a chance to vent and relax. Why? Well, there are a lot of factors to this. The stories, the characters, and the music. They're all great and likable, and I got addicted to the games when I got it. People normally say that once you read a mystery, it becomes boring to read again because you know what's going to happen. However, with games that doesn't normally hold true, because if you play a mystery game, you may know the who, but the how can still be a mystery. In addition, with video media, you can also have multiple endings and different people who are going to be the culprit. And that kind of holds true with the Ace Attorney series. With over 28 cases available to the American public, you won't be remembering each and every case you have to solve, at least not if you go and play the games all at once. Not to mention the manga volumes of Ace Attorney have the same effect. And don't get me started on the fan cases you can play on Pyrite or Casemaker, some of which are actually really good and have some good moments to them. But we're here to talk about a retrospective of the Turnabout Lawyer. When I first got into this series, I didn't know it existed, save for the occasional objection joke you see in YouTube videos at the time. But other than that, I didn't know. That is until my father got me the second game in high school, Justice for All. But my dad got me the game near the beginning of the school year since my birthday is kind of, well, literally in the middle of September. And with my father being a truck driver and being away from home most of the time, he wanted to get me something that we could both relate to. And since we both like watching Law & Order together whenever we could, he thought this kind of game would be a good fit for me. Ironic since the courtroom procedure in Ace Attorney is nothing like it is in real life. Still, I can remember the story of the game quite well, how there was so much mystery behind the characters. Mind you, I didn't play the first game until after I finished Justice for All, so I didn't even know of the case with Edgeworth, how Phoenix helped Maya out of a murder charge, or even about prosecutor Manfred von Karma, so Francisco was actually kind of a weird character for me. However, that very mystery wanted me to finish the game and try to figure out how it all played out. Although I had to stop and laugh every 5 minutes when Francisca von Karma kept using her whip to visibly assault Phoenix in open court, court would certainly be a lot more interesting if the lawyers were given whips to have at it, that's for sure. Presenting evidence, picking apart testimonies, and even using the Magatama to break through the Cyclops, it was a gameplay that I really enjoyed. Before I got my hands on the Ace Attorney, I mostly just played RPGs, beat-em-ups, and fighting games. I still loved playing those games, and I do today. But Ace Attorney made me think more about how the murderer got away with the crime, and had me think outside the box, which is something you have to do in the game. Admittedly, instead of button mashing, I just mashed the bottom of my DS screen, so I just traded one mashing for another. Also, the ending for Justice for All was also superb, and since I'm trying to avoid spoilers as much as I can in this, I'll say this though, it has a very unique twist depending on what you choose. Should you take the easy way out, or take the high road and be a much more better attorney? It's then I got my hands on the first game. And I'll say this, while it did indeed answer the mysteries that I had that appeared in the second game, I was kind of a little disappointed. The sprites and animation weren't as refined as the ones I was used to in the second game, but that's to be expected. It was the first game, and technically the makers didn't think the game would warrant a sequel. And yet, the blue-suited warrior with the spiky hair that could rival Sonic's spine won the hearts of many a gamer. Hell, just yelling objection at random people was fun to do. Not to mention it inspired some of the easiest cosplay around, a simple blue suit and pink tie. But we're talking about the games, and while the first 4 cases of the game were amazing on their own, in order to prevent spoilers, I'll talk about the 5th case. The 5th case was added to the Japanese DS edition of the game and given to the English released copies as default. The 5th case was a bit of fringe of brilliance on the part of the game designers. Not only did it give closure to the first game, it also set up future gameplay mechanics we wouldn't get it until the 4th installment. as well as a character who would appear in later titles as well. I would continuously play the games whenever I got the chance, after school, before school, weekends, and the such. And then it happened. Trials and Tribulations. And it was a perfect game, at least in my eyes. The story drew me in. We learned more about Phoenix's mentor, Mia Fey, who died in the first game, and kept on being his support. And when I started the first case, I had to take a few moments to realize that it was Phoenix himself who was on the stand for murder. This game also introduced me to my favorite prosecutor, well, until recently, Godot. Godot. Or is it Godot? Godot? I don't know, there's a ton of fan speculation on how to pronounce his name, but I'll go with my own version, Godot. Godot, this scouter-wearing, coffee-drinking, suave Latino guy is a definition of awesome and hard-boiled. How he can stand after 13 cups of coffee is a mystery to me, but he's still an awesome character, both in design and personality. But he's not the only prosecutor in this. Edgeworth comes back both as a prosecutor and a temporary defense attorney? Okay. And he faces off against Franziska von Karma? Oh boy. Way to be whipped. Like I said earlier, I don't want to give too much away at games, since the story and cases are for you guys to enjoy. And it's not like the games are hard to get. The internet and GameStop should have the original DS games for sale still, and you can get them on the first game on your iPhone for about $5, or you can just download the games for your Wii or Wii U. But don't leave just yet, don't do that yet. I'm not done. The first 3 games were a testament to an unconventional mystery stories that introduced a very likable protagonist. Hell, most of the characters are likable. Unlike most games, there wasn't a very big evil, you didn't save the world, you just helped out people in a unique way, defending them from a crime they didn't commit. Even the villains were fun to watch, especially when you get to the breakdowns. Oh, how I love the breakdowns. For the first 3 games, my favorite breakdown would have to be from the first case ever, where Phoenix gets a wig flung into his face. It's a unique animation too, and Phoenix's look is unique for that one scene. In every other case with him, I don't think I've ever seen him with that same look than anyone else. If I'm wrong, please tell me. I'd love to see that. But enough of the original trilogy, let's get to the 4th installment. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Admittedly, when the game first came out, there were a lot of people who didn't like the game simply for the fact that Phoenix wasn't the lead character. And that's just a weak excuse for not playing the game, especially for this game. It was more refined, Apollo's a greater character, and the music of the game, well, it's just as good as the original, if not better. For some reason, whenever Apollo Justice made an objection, the music just seemed to gel better with me. Then there was Apollo himself, who actually had the ability to detect lies from other people and look for their nervous tics. Besides, it's not like Phoenix wasn't a game, in fact he becomes the mentor to Apollo. Besides, the game itself does a good job of telling what happened in the first 7-year gap between it and the end of Trials and Tribulations. Heck, the first case of the game, in my opinion, is the best opening case of all the series. Not only do you get to defend the legendary Phoenix right, but the twists and turns in it are amazing. Once again, I don't want to give too much spoilers. And throughout the game, there's a sense of mystery that culminates, and there's a sense of connection that comes together in the final case, where we learn of what happened to Phoenix Wright after he lost his badge, how he lost it, and we get a glimpse of what's going to happen in the future. I talk about the side games featuring Edgeworth, and don't get me wrong, the first game was really good, but I was still kind of annoyed with the fact that the second game didn't get ported. But thankfully, Ace Attorney fans have fought against this by doing an English emulator of the second game. You can find it on courtrecords.com, which I will link right here. Admittedly, it's only the first 2 cases, but it's still a good game to play, especially with the logic chest. I can't believe they didn't want to bring this over. It's really fun to do that. But now we've come to the game that made me want to do this video in the first place. Dual Destinies. It was 5 years since the last Ace Attorney release outside Japan, and this was a breath of fresh air. The graphics have been improved dramatically, going from 2D to 3D, there are animated cutscenes peppered into the game, and we have more gameplay mechanics to play around with. What's best is that Phoenix is back, and he's not alone. He's got 2 other attorneys to break through the dark age of law with him.
Objection! There's a glaring contradiction in the witness's testimony.
Joining Phoenix is Apollo Justice.
I'm fine. Apollo Justice is ready to go.
using his lie detecting abilities to call any witnesses bluffs. However, he can no longer do that in the courtroom, mainly thanks to the new prosecutor Simon Blackquill. I'll talk about Blackquill in a little bit, but needless to say that how he stuffs Apollo is unique. And to quote Simon, "Taka simply loathes trickery and fraud, and that queer power of yours seems to have offended my dear Bossum Buzzard." Didn't think people still use that word, but hey, Taka here is still a funny character, especially with this scene. I actually stopped and laughed to look at the judge's look with Taka on the back of his chair. It was so funny the first time I saw it. I still get a couple of chuckles. But wait a minute, wasn't there another attorney to help Phoenix? Ah, yes there was!
Hold it! Forget about me and you're gonna pay dearly.
Miss Athena Sykes. And between you and me, I think her voice actress was chosen because of a certain fan game. Yup! Athena Sykes is voiced by Wenda Lee, who you might remember as Haruhi Suzumiya, but also as Kota Izumi, Faye Valentine, and TK from Digimon? Okay, that's weird. Athena Sykes is an 18-year-old defense attorney who uses psychology to help her win cases, detecting emotions of a witness to draw out more testimony. She's also a very hot-blooded young woman who has a tendency to mix Spanish, French, and German whenever she speaks. All three of the defense attorneys have their strengths that they bring to the table and help out each other. But on the opposite side of the courtroom, we have Simon Blackquill. And let me tell you, Godot may have been my favorite prosecutor up till now, but Blackquill is a much more dynamic character. Both have tragic backgrounds, both have wicked design, and when you get right down to it, same motive.
You're who's serving time? How do you still have your law license?
You of all people should know. What is dark is light in this new age of the law.
Well, I refuse to accept that!
But I prefer Blackquill mainly because, you know, I really can't say why. Both have their ups and downs, and while I could go into an analysis of their characters, I guess I could say Blackquill seems to show a bit more respect to the three attorneys than Godot ever did. Sure, he insults them, but he often refers to the attorneys as Right Dono or Sykes Dono. For those who don't know about Japanese honorifics, Dono roughly means Lord or Master, but it doesn't equate to a noble status. Rather, it's used by a person who uses it to refer to someone who is the same rank as them who used it, yet commands respect from the speaker. Although it can also be used as a joke to exaggerate a person's age, by considering Blackquill's personality and how he's called Twisted Samurai, I'm inclined to think that it was more of the first example. He doesn't assault the attorneys when he's at a disadvantage like how Francisco would with her whip. He doesn't openly insult them like Godot did with Trite, and he doesn't really have a grudge against any of them. I think I also like the concept of Blackquill as well. It's such an impossibility that a prisoner who committed murder, no less, would be allowed to prosecute, especially since Blackquill can easily break through the chains that his shackles when he gets serious. Although he can't really get too far since his shackles do have electric tasers in them, which are controlled by Detective Fulbright. Oof. I could go on and on how I love the Ace Attorney games, Dual Destinies in particular, how the music is a testament to the greatness, how the characters are all memorable, how the mystery of who and how draws you in. But like I've been saying, you've got to be able to play and enjoy these games firsthand to really get what I'm saying. And unfortunately, Dual Destinies came out a week or so after Pokemon X and Y. Don't get me wrong, I got my own copy of X and I'm playing, but without a physical copy release and being released just after these Pokemon games, I'm afraid Ace Attorney will just kind of fade away from the public eye. But the fans will speak, and as a fan, I love this series and I hope to see it continue to grow. I just hope it doesn't take 5 years for the next game. And now I have a question for you guys. Should I make videos like this, where I actually analyze characters from Ace Attorney or any game, and see what makes them tick? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Remember everyone, to examine your fandom. Thanks for watching!